One night in Hollywood, cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, and celebrities walked the red carpet like they always do. But when a thin, silver-haired man stepped out of a car, something strange happened. People looked right at him and didn't recognize him. This was Johnny Depp, the man who had spent decades as one of the most recognizable faces in the world. Yet now he looked almost unrecognizable. He had dropped nearly half his body weight, going from around 230 pounds to barely 130. His hair had turned silver. His face was sharper, older, different. Fans online began asking the same question. What happened to Johnny Depp? Some insiders whispered that the change saved his life. Others worried it meant something much darker. But the truth behind Johnny Depp's transformation didn't begin in Hollywood. It started decades earlier in a childhood filled with chaos, loneliness, and pain. Johnny Depp was born on June 9, 1963, in Owensboro, Kentucky. He was the youngest of 4 children in a family that rarely stayed in one place long. His father, John Christopher Depp, worked as a civil engineer. His mother, Betty Sue Palmer, worked as a waitress before later becoming a homemaker. On the outside, it looked like an ordinary American family. Inside the home, things were far more complicated. Depp would later describe his childhood as unpredictable and tense. His mother had a fierce temper and could explode without warning. Arguments filled the house. Objects were sometimes thrown during outbursts, and the children learned quickly to stay quiet when anger filled the room. Johnny became skilled at disappearing into corners, trying not to be noticed. His father was the opposite, quiet, gentle, and passive. But he rarely stepped in to stop the chaos. And the family never stayed in one place long enough to feel settled. By the time Johnny turned 15, the family had moved nearly 40 times. 40 different houses, 40 new schools, 40 chances to feel like the outsider again. The constant change left him feeling disconnected from almost everything around him. When Johnny was 7 years old, the family moved to Miramar, Florida. For nearly a year, they lived inside a motel. To a young boy, it felt like drifting without direction. That's when something entered his life that would become an escape. Music. When he turned 12, his mother gave him a guitar. It wasn't meant to change his life, but it did. Johnny became obsessed. He spent hours alone, learning chords and practicing until his fingers hurt. The guitar became more than an instrument. It became a refuge from everything he couldn't control. But outside of music, his teenage years spiraled into dangerous territory. By 12, he had already started smoking cigarettes. Soon after came alcohol. Drugs followed not long after that. School didn't help either. Other students saw him as strange, quiet, withdrawn, different. Bullying became common. Home offered no comfort. School offered no escape. So Johnny created his own world through music. Then, when he was 15, his parents divorced. The separation shook the family deeply. His mother fell into depression, and the responsibility of helping at home seemed to fall partly on Johnny's shoulders. Every week, he had to visit his father's office to collect child support checks. It felt humiliating. By 16, Johnny Depp made a decision that would change everything. He dropped out of high school. He wanted to be a musician, nothing else. At first, even the school principal tried to talk him out of it. But when Johnny returned 2 weeks later thinking about re-enrolling, the principal told him something unexpected. Go chase your dream. And that's exactly what he did. Johnny joined a band called The Kids. The group wasn't famous. They weren't even comfortable. Many nights, they slept in a friend's old 1967 Chevy Impala. Money was almost non-existent, and every dollar they earned went straight back into equipment or travel. But they played constantly bars, clubs, small venues, anywhere that would let them perform. And surprisingly, the band started gaining attention. They even opened for acts like Talking Heads, the B-52s, and Iggy Pop. Still, success never quite arrived. Eventually, the band packed everything they had and moved across the country to Los Angeles. If they were going to make it in music, this was the place. But Los Angeles proved even harder than Florida. Rent was high. Competition was brutal. Record deals were nearly impossible to land. Johnny took odd jobs just to survive, including selling ballpoint pens over the phone. It was exhausting and humiliating work. Then something happened that would redirect his entire life. In 1983, Johnny married makeup artist Lori and Allison. The marriage didn't last long, but it created a connection that would change his future forever. Through Lori, Johnny met a rising actor named Nicolas Cage. Cage had already begun building a name in Hollywood and quickly saw something interesting in Johnny. One day, he asked a simple question: "Why don't you try acting?" Johnny laughed. He had never acted in his life. But Cage didn't let the idea go. He introduced Depp to his own agent, who encouraged Johnny to audition for a film. Johnny wasn't interested in acting as a career, but when he heard the paycheck, $1,284 a week, he suddenly reconsidered. For someone who had been sleeping in cars and selling pens, that was life-changing money. So, Johnny Depp walked into an audition that would quietly launch one of Hollywood's biggest careers. The film was a nightmare on Elm Street. At first, director Wes Craven wasn't convinced. Depp didn't look like a typical actor. But when Craven's teenage daughter saw Depp's headshot, she had a different opinion. She thought he looked perfect for the role. That moment changed everything. Depp landed the part of Glenn Lance, a small role in what was supposed to be a low-budget horror movie. The film only cost about $1.8 million to make. But when it hit theaters, something unexpected happened. It exploded. The movie earned more than $57 million worldwide and became a horror classic. Johnny Depp's death scene, where his character is pulled into a bed before a geyser of blood erupts, became one of the most famous moments in horror movie history. Suddenly Hollywood knew his name, but Depp still didn't think of himself as an actor. He continued playing music and accepted small acting roles only to pay bills. Then another opportunity arrived. In 1987, Depp was cast in a television series called 21 Jump Street. The show followed young undercover police officers who posed as high school students to solve crimes. It was never meant to be revolutionary, but it became exactly that. Within months, the show exploded in popularity. Teenagers loved it. Magazines plastered Depp's face on their covers. Fan letters poured in by the thousands. Johnny Depp had become a teen idol, and he absolutely hated it. Behind the scenes, Depp felt trapped by the fame. The filming schedule was brutal, sometimes 15 hours a day. Producers wanted him to appear in public service announcements encouraging kids to stay in school. The irony bothered him deeply. He had dropped out himself. The role that made him famous began to feel like a cage. By the time he had filmed over 100 episodes, Depp was desperate to leave. He argued with producers, rejected scripts he disagreed with, and openly criticized the show in interviews. At one point, he even trashed his trailer, hoping the network would fire him. But they needed him too badly. Finally, a lifeline appeared. Director Tim Burton offered Depp the lead role in a strange, emotional movie called Edward Scissorhands. The character was an awkward outsider with scissors instead of hands, gentle, misunderstood, and alone. Depp immediately connected with the character. It felt personal. When the film was released in 1990, critics were stunned. The performance was quiet, subtle, and deeply emotional. It proved Johnny Depp was far more than a teen idol. It also began one of the most famous director-actor partnerships in Hollywood history. Over the next decade, Depp and Burton collaborated repeatedly. Ed Wood, Sleepy Hollow, later films like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Alice in Wonderland. But the moment that would turn Depp into a global superstar arrived in 2003. Disney released a pirate adventure movie few people believed would succeed. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. Pirate movies had a terrible reputation in Hollywood. Studios believed audiences simply weren't interested anymore. Even Disney executives were nervous about Depp's unusual performance. Instead of playing a traditional heroic pirate, Depp created something entirely different. Captain Jack Sparrow. He moved like a rock star. He slurred his speech. He stumbled through danger with strange confidence and unpredictable charm. Executives initially feared the character would ruin the movie. Instead, audiences fell in love with him. The film earned more than $650 million worldwide. Jack Sparrow instantly became one of the most iconic characters in modern cinema. Five Pirates films eventually earned over $4.5 billion combined. Johnny Depp became one of the highest-paid actors in the world. By 2012, he held the Guinness World Record for the highest-paid actor alive. For a man who once slept in cars, the transformation was unbelievable. But success rarely lasts forever. Behind the scenes, Depp's personal life was becoming increasingly complicated. In 2009, while filming The Rum Diary, he met actress Amber Heard. Their relationship developed slowly at first, but soon became intense. By 2014, they were engaged. In 2015, they were married. From the outside, it looked glamorous, a Hollywood romance played out on private islands and luxury yachts. But cracks began appearing almost immediately. The marriage lasted just 15 months. In May 2016, Heard filed for divorce and accused Depp of abuse. The accusations exploded across headlines worldwide. Photos of alleged injuries circulated through the media. Depp denied the claims and insisted the accusations were false. The situation quickly turned into one of the most public celebrity conflicts in recent memory. Studios grew nervous. Within a few years, Depp lost major roles, including his future with the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. A career built over decades suddenly looked like it might collapse. Then, in 2022, everything reached a boiling point. Depp sued Heard for defamation, arguing that a newspaper opinion piece had destroyed his reputation. The trial was televised and followed by millions around the world. For 6 weeks, shocking details about their relationship surfaced, angry arguments, recordings, accusations from both sides. When the jury finally delivered its verdict, they sided mostly with Depp. He was awarded millions in damages. For many fans, the ruling felt like vindication. But the damage to his career and reputation had already been enormous. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of disappearing quietly, Johnny Depp began rebuilding himself. Between 2023 and 2024, he underwent a dramatic transformation. He changed his lifestyle completely. His diet improved. Exercise became part of his daily routine. Meditation and therapy helped him deal with years of stress and public scrutiny. Within a year, he had lost around 100 pounds. Fans were shocked when he appeared in public again. The man standing in front of them looked completely different. His hair was silver, his face leaner, his energy calmer. For a new film role, he even adopted icy blue contact lenses and a gray beard, creating a haunting new appearance. Social media exploded with reactions. Some people barely recognized him. Others praised the transformation. But perhaps the most surprising change came when he smiled. For years, fans had joked about Depp's rough, uneven teeth. Now he appeared with a bright, perfectly straight smile. The change quickly went viral. Many saw it as symbolic, a sign that Depp was rebuilding not only his career, but his life. And Hollywood seemed ready to welcome him back. New projects appeared. Directors expressed interest in working with him again. Industry insiders began calling it one of the most surprising comebacks in recent memory. In interviews, Depp spoke openly about the difficult years he had endured. He admitted that many people he once trusted had disappeared when things became difficult. But the experience taught him something important: resilience. For Johnny Depp, resilience had become more than just a word. It had become a way of surviving. And after everything he had faced, a chaotic childhood, addiction, public scandals, and the collapse of his career, the fact that he was still standing might be the most remarkable part of his story. Because in Hollywood, fame can disappear overnight. But sometimes the people who fall the hardest are the ones who find the strength to rise again.